What is inflation? Why do prices keep going up and salaries are never enough? This is the secret behind it. I still remember clearly the first time I realized that money could be lost without being stolen. At that time, I was having coffee at my usual place and casually opened my cell phone gallery. Found a photo of a coffee receipt from 2 years ago. The price is Rp. 18,000. Even though now, it's the same coffee, the same place. But the price is already IDR 30,000, not because the place becomes fancy, but because inflation secretly takes our purchasing power without us realizing it. And believe me, it's not just about coffee. It's about your salary, your savings, even your future. But what exactly is inflation? How could this happen? What impact does it have on our daily lives? And most importantly, how do we survive and win against inflation? So, this time we will discuss everything with relatable language, practical solutions, and things you can apply straight away. Let's go. Okay, let's start from the beginning. Inflation is simply a general and continuous increase in the prices of goods and services over a certain period of time. You must have also felt that in the past. With IDR 100,000, you could shop for a lot. But now it feels like it's only enough to buy tissues and instant noodles. It's not because you're being wasteful. It's because the value of your money is decreasing. The money remains Rp. 100,000. But what can be purchased is less. If you buy coffee for 20,000 Indonesian rupiah today and next year, the same coffee becomes 25,000 Indonesian rupiah. Then there is inflation of 25%. But the problem is not just that prices are going up. The problem is that your purchasing power is going down. For example, if your salary is stuck at IDR million per month, but the price of necessities increases by 10% every year, then you will unconsciously become poorer. So, inflation is like a silent killer. It is not felt immediately, but its effects slowly erode our ability to live decently. And this is why many people work harder, get more tired, but still feel like it's not enough because they're running on a treadmill, moving forward but staying in place. Why is this so important? Because everyone unknowingly lives in a system that is influenced by inflation, from salaries, living costs to dreams of buying a house. There are many causes of inflation, and it is not a random phenomenon. Some of the main reasons are: first, demand pull inflation. This occurs when demand for goods is higher than supply. For example, during it, everyone wants to buy basic necessities, prices go up. Because goods are limited, demand increases, prices also increase. Second, cost push inflation. This is the opposite. Production costs have risen, so producers have been forced to raise selling prices. For example, fuel prices increase, distribution costs increase, and the prices of all finished goods also increase. Third, there is too much money in circulation. When the government or central bank prints too much money without being accompanied by balanced economic growth, the value of money decreases. This is what happens in many countries with hyperinflation crises. The classic cases are hyperinflation in Venezuela and Zimbabwe. Fourth, imported inflation. If an importing country like Indonesia experiences a weakening exchange rate or the price of foreign goods increases, the price of imported goods will automatically increase as well. This is transmitted to domestic prices. In essence, inflation can come from state policies, global conditions, and even the consumerist lifestyle of society itself. This question is important because it turns out that inflation is not always negative. A little inflation is actually considered healthy. This means the economy is running, demand is increasing, and producers have the motivation to produce. Ideally, inflation is controlled at 2 to 3% per year. But if it is above 5% without any increase in income, that is a disaster. Why? Because there will be a gap between the cost of living and income. And when that happens, the middle class could be pushed into poverty and the poor could be squeezed even further. So it can be concluded that the goal of controlled inflation is to keep economic growth healthy and stable. As long as it is tame, inflation is not an enemy. The enemy is when inflation is high and uncontrolled. So who is affected by inflation? The answer is everyone. But the one who suffers the most is an employee with a fixed salary. If companies don't raise salaries according to inflation, then every year their money will be worth less and less. And even if salaries don't increase, but prices also increase, then their income actually decreases. 2. People who save money under their pillow. They have savings but don't invest them. The money is left idle and becomes less and less valuable over time. Today's $1 million will not be worth the same as $1 million in 5 years. This can be seen from history that has repeated itself. 3. Small MSMEs, raw materials increase. Operational costs increase. But consumer purchasing power decreases. So their margins are getting thinner. They spend most of their income on basic needs. So, when the prices of basic necessities rise, their burden is the greatest. Therefore, if you don't learn to protect yourself from inflation, sooner or later, life will feel harder even though you work harder. Now, this is the most important part of how you can continue to grow, even when inflation is getting higher. First, don't just save, but invest. Saving is important for the short term. But if you want to protect the value of your money in the long term, you have to start by learning about investing. Why? Because inflation is like seawater that continues to rise. If your ship is still, it will surely sink. Well, here are some assets that are known to beat inflation. Gold has been a classic hedge since ancient times. When fiat currencies weaken, gold usually rises. Its value tends to increase in the long term, especially during global crisis conditions. Crypto and digital assets. This is tricky. Some people believe crypto like Bitcoin can be a hedge against inflation because its supply is limited. But the volatility is very high, so you have to be wise. Volatile and high risk, but can be an option if you understand the science. Mutual funds or stocks. Suitable for beginners who cannot choose their own stocks, but still want investments that follow economic growth. Growing companies have the potential to earn more and their stock values will increase, especially the shares of large companies that continue to grow. Lastly, there is property, land and building prices which tend to increase over time, especially in strategic locations. Even though it requires large capital, its value tends to increase every year. But remember, don't just follow suit. Educate first, understand the risks, then invest. Second, increase skills, increase income. If the price of goods continues to rise, the only way to survive is to increase income. Upgrade skills, take on additional projects, earn income from passion, or even start a small business. Because in this ever-changing world, a fixed salary is a risk. 3. Wisely manage cash flow. Record expenses, create a budget, and make sure you know where the money is going. Because often it's not that we don't have enough money, but we ourselves don't know where the money has disappeared to. So, guys, if you are still young and just starting to earn money, it's time to learn one important thing, that your money should not only be saved, but also protected. Inflation also teaches us to never rely completely on the system. We can't control the prices of goods, we can't prevent the global crisis, but we can control our response. We can learn, we can adapt, we can prepare a strong financial foundation. And it all starts with one thing, awareness. It doesn't mean you have to be a professional trader or investor, but you should know that sitting still is not an option. Because when you stay silent, inflation will continue and you will be left further behind. Inflation is not a big storm that suddenly comes, but it is like seawater that continues to rise slowly and suddenly you are drowning. So instead of getting angry because the price of padang rice is getting more expensive, you should start educating yourself. Start making small investments. Start learning how to protect your money. Because in today's era, financial literacy is no longer an advantage, but a necessity. Maybe you don't have any assets yet. Maybe you don't understand about investing yet. Or maybe you are still living paycheck to paycheck right now. It's okay. The important thing is that you are aware, understand the problem, and are willing to take action. Because living in this modern era is not about who is the richest, but who is the most prepared. So, start from the education from this video, from the small steps you take today. Because as Warren Buffett said, risk comes from not knowing what you're doing. And now you're starting to see what's going on. But the next choice is still in your hands.